Hello, and welcome to Between the Lions, a podcast hosted by the Beaumaris Lions Club. Today, my guest is Emily Fairweather. Emily is not only a full-time music teacher, but is also the founder, director, and creator of Flourish, a high school transition program. This morning, we start off with discussing why such a program is necessary, and then Emily goes on to give us the details of the program. Enjoy. What is the problem with this for some children with this transition between year 6 and year 7?
Yes, for many people, they do struggle with transitioning between schools, between primary and secondary. Even if they're staying at the same school, there's a lot of differences between primary school and high school or secondary school as we know it here as well. First of all, there's a lot of social challenges for our young people. They've got to restart. They've got to start in a new environment. There's schools to get to know. There's buildings. There's geographical changes in the environment that they're in. There's the social change and challenge, creating a whole different group of friends for many of our young people. And that can cause a lot of anxiety, particularly more so the girls. They often feel like there's a lot of pressure on finding the right friends and the right shaping who they become and who they want to be represented with and by over their time in secondary school. There's more and more mounting pressure on the academic side of things. So they go from primary school where the academic pressure may not be as strong. It's still a lot of fun activities and fun dynamic classes in primary school with really caring teachers and quite often primary schools can be relatively small as well, into a secondary environment where many teachers and schools are pushing for those academic results and for high achievement and already looking towards exams, they're looking towards VCE and preparing for their final years of secondary school. Many of our young people are struggling personally as well, just with a whole lot of changes going on in their world at that time of life. We know that the changes going through puberty for both the girls and the guys can create many tensions emotionally, mentally, and of course that throws a whole lot of emotions on the playing field as well for both our parents and our carers and our teachers. So there's a lot of different factors and things going on for our young people. The other changes that they're facing quite often face personal struggle, whether that might be something like the social or the academic, which we've already touched on briefly, but actually difficult family situations. Perhaps they've got parents where there's a lot of tension at home, there's challenges, there's fighting. Perhaps parents have been fairly absent in their child or young person's life, and they haven't experienced what it's like to live in a loving, caring environment. Perhaps these kids are actually overscheduled. We're seeing more and more of our young people who the families might have plenty of resources to enrol them in lots of sporting commitments and lots of activities outside of school. But actually when it comes down to experiencing community and experiencing close relationships with people who are their age and also older in a mentoring framework, the young people don't actually know what community is, don't actually know what it is to build a meaningful connection with other people. There's also a lot of health issues some of our young people are facing too. So between mental health issues with the past, the post and during pandemic space as well. I don't think I've spoken to a young person recently who hasn't at least had one concern in their life that they're going, I'm actually really struggling with this, or, I've got a lot of pressure about this that's impacting their life in some way or another. I might just jump in there about social media. You might be aware that many of our young people are engaging on social media. There's a lot of platforms that we're using these days. And whilst the rise of technology has been incredibly helpful academically, in education, in so many aspects of our world, there's also been a lot of, in my opinion, a lot of harm as well. And I think this issue around comparing to each other, comparing to social media stars, to people who've become famous overnight due to a TikTok video, or a couple of years ago it was the YouTubers. I think it's creating this unrealistic and unhealthy sense of self, and also giving them some unrealistic goals as well in life. And so there is very much a need, and what I see is as a market out there for a program such as Flourish, which I run, where we're there to care, mentor, and educate our young people during times of transition.
And your Flourish program, could you just tell us a little bit more about how it runs and what your aims with the program? I know you're saying just to help the kids through the transition, but more particularly.
Sure, yeah. So Flourish came about when I was actually still at university myself. I was studying to be a teacher, education, and I'd done a lot of placements in local schools, particularly around Bayside, but also a little further out as well. And I could see that we have excellent schools, we have excellent facilities and programs around here. But some of the aspects of education that our schools and our teachers and education as a whole is struggling with is the social emotional side of things and the wellbeing education. And I think our schools are becoming a lot better at it now than they used to even, almost 9 years ago when we started. But I could see that there was a need, that teachers weren't equipped to be able to teach and equip our young people to be ready for secondary school. Many teachers also really feel the pressure of the curriculum and what they've got to bring, and just so much content to fit in. And as myself, as a qualified full-time teacher now, I can very much agree with that and say the content that we have to cover is quite broad, and have to work very hard to cover it in the space of time we have in a school year. And I could also see that other aspect that I explained just before, the sense our young people really want role models to look up to. And whether that's a role model in terms of a social media star or a TikToker or, a YouTube star, our young actually need role models, real role models in life. They're a little bit older than them, but they're still relatable, and that they can encourage them, they can build each other up, and also assist them and help them through challenges in life to help them become more resilient, forward people in terms of moving forward in life. And so I said, I really why not? Let's start a program that is going to educate our young people about a lot of key topics around transition, that it's going to be focused on a mentoring relationship. So not just a face-to-face kind of lecture format, but we're going to make it a mentoring relationship. We're going to have mentors in the program who are young adults who, have recently been through school or, relatively recently been to school, who love young people, who want to volunteer their time, give back to the community. And let's just put it out there. We started back in 2015, and I started preparing back in 2013, 2014. I started doing a bit of prep. I was still at uni myself, but I was confident to write a program and just to give it a go. I didn't have any families or kids lined up. I literally had no one. I went to the Sandringham Baptist Church at the time, and I said, "Can I use your hall? I want to run a program." And that they said, "Oh, well, the hall's not used for anything." Yeah, okay. And after a couple of negotiations, they said, "Yep, here's the key. Off you go. We don't have any resources to give you, but you can use our hall." And I said, "Great, that's all I need." I rallied a team of friends around me and a team of other really passionate, like-minded people who'd done some youth work before, just in the local community. And I said, "Do you want to come and be part of a program? I'm going to launch this program." It could totally flop. I think I personally did for a fair bit of it myself on my little uni part-time job. And that's kind of how it all started. So, a couple of years later, I think we're about to launch into our 9th group coming up in July. We've just launched applications, which is super exciting. The structure of the program goes as follows. So we are a year 6 girls primarily, 10-session program. And each session has a different focus or a different topic of focus to get ready for transition. So I'll give you a quick rundown of what some of those topics are. Yeah. So you can get a bit of an idea of what we cover, and I'll go into a little bit of detail for you too. So
Please do.
Yeah. So the first session we talk about, how are you feeling? So welcome, how are you feeling? Let's get to know the young people. We ask them, what are they looking forward to? What are they really nervous about? where would they love to become more confident? And we help them set some goals that are measurable so we can support them on their journey. What would they like to learn more about? So it's very much a get to know you session to work out where we're going and where the needs of our group sits. Do we have a whole group of kids who are really nervous about making new friends? Or do we have a whole group of kids who are actually really feeling the pressure of the academic side of things, and how are they going to go with homework and balancing other commitments? So that's session 1. Session 2, we talk about how do we cope with change. Of course, there's lots of changes going on in our lives all the time. So we talk about what is change? Is it a positive or a negative thing? Why do we sometimes not like change? What can we do to make changes in our lives less scary? And how can we become more resilient through the changes that we face across our lives? We very much listen to the girls and validate what they share and listen to their personal experiences. The next topic we launch into is one of teachers and homework. So a lot of young people are very nervous about the amount of homework they're going to get in secondary school. So we have a chat about what that might look like. Of course, every school is different, but we explore it. Could look like this, or it could look like this, or actually it could look something very different to that as well. But what are the skills and tips we can give them to equip them to set them up well for homework and managing homework, regardless of what their situation is or where they're placed in schools as well. Some young people are also very nervous about getting on with their teachers. So they're going to have a scary teacher. Are they going to have issues getting on with their teachers? So we talk about how we can create positive relationships and good working relationships with our teachers, and also how teachers in primary are quite different to teachers in secondary. And what are often their different expectations that they have between those two spaces. The next topic we talk about. Yeah, sorry.
Sorry, I was just going to say, because they move from having a primary classroom teacher to having a teacher for each subject, don't they?
Yeah, that's right. Absolutely. And although many schools now are actually changing that a little bit more and trying to streamline a year 7 year so that they've got many core subjects with a teacher and just a couple of other, other teachers around the place. But on the whole, usually they do move around a whole lot more in secondary, and you've got a whole lot more range of teachers and subjects as well. Next session, we move on to talking about friendships and influences in our lives. And we know that for many young people, this is a really big one and something they're very nervous about. So, why is it important to have friends in our life? What quality should we be looking for in making a good friendship? What do you personally value in your life? And what are you looking for in a friendship? What does it mean for a friend to be influencing you? And what are the good and bad influences that friends can make in our lives? So it's a pretty big session and a pretty important session for many of our young people, which leads on really well to the next session, which is discussing and looking at peer pressure. We know our young people, even from young age now, can engage in many risky behaviours that has been brought on by peer pressure. And particularly also with the rise of social media, we're seeing peer pressure online, or pressure just by people that you wouldn't even regard as a peer, but influencers or people in their lives, they're getting pressured to do things that are not necessarily healthy for them or age appropriate for them. So we discuss, what is peer pressure? Is peer pressure always bad? Because it's actually not necessarily. So we discuss and work that through together. And then how can we deal with peer pressure? What can we do if we find ourselves in that position? If we're experiencing ourselves, or if someone around us, our friends are experiencing that, what can we do to support them through that? Session 6, we chat about attitude and looking after ourselves. So why is having a positive attitude or a growth mindset, a forward-thinking attitude important? And how do we look after ourselves? So it's a very, very broad topic that we touch on there. But, what does it mean to look after ourselves? There are some young people who just don't even know what it means to physically look after themselves, to mentally look after themselves, to emotionally look after themselves. How do they look after themselves online with all the content that they're seeing and engaging in? How do they look after themselves? So we chat a lot about that and why that's important to them. The next session we talk about is dealing with bullying. We know that many of our young people have experienced bullying already, or maybe they have seen a friend who's been bullied or been part of that. And other times we say to the girls, it might be something you experience or see in secondary school in your coming years. And so we chat about why it's so common, why it often happens, and of course, what can they do to make a stand and to speak up if they see something that's not right or experience something that's not right in their world. And of course, we really, after every session, we're always pointing them to what help and what resources are available to them at their fingertips online, in their schools, in their community. There is actually so much support for our young people out there. It's not always accessible or well known, but there is actually a fair bit of support out there for them. That leads on to our next topic, which is self-esteem. So we talk about what is self-esteem, how can we keep a strong and healthy self-esteem even when things are tough. We do a little bit of examining their own self-esteem in terms of where they're at right now and where they want to go, and we set some more goals about what we can do to support and encourage them on their journey as they transition into secondary school. We see a lot of this as being able to help the girls understand who they are themselves. What are their personal character strengths? What are they good at? When things get tough and maybe someone else challenges you about what you're good at, or challenges you and says something like you're not really good at that. How can you come back to them and go, well, actually, my strength lies in this area over here, and this is what I'm choosing to focus on in life, or this is my priority in this space right now. So that's also something that we jump into. For our final two sessions, session 9 is social media, which you can imagine really deserves a whole lot more of time than just one session spent on it. But, these sessions are very much conversation starters. We give them some information, we create discussion space, and then we have what we call mentoring groups, which has got a leader and a small, usually about 8 or 9 girls in it. Then they head off and they have a smaller conversation, or maybe a more personalised conversation about the topic and what that means for each young person. So we chat about what social media they may have already been engaging with or engaging in. We chat about what they plan to use in the future. We then go into what sort of legalities are there. Is there a minimum age for using social media? Is there, any other kind of information they need to know for keeping themselves safe and their identity safe on social media too? So it's probably the session that's changed the most over the last 8 to 9 years. It's just changed so much from when we first started. And even myself, now I'm 29, almost 30 this year, and just the amount of information that is exchanged and changed over that time is crazy. I have to work hard to sometimes keep up with it myself, even as a millennial.
I've just given up.
I mean, that's the other option too. That's absolutely the other option. So, it's such a big industry now, and it's something that it's very hard for our young people to escape and avoid. We've got some parents with a hands-off approach. We'll let our young people do anything and access anything, and parents who may not be super present in their young person's life. We've got the other end of the scale where we've got parents who are super, super, super strict about what their child can access and what they're allowed to do online and who they're allowed to communicate online. And at both ends of that spectrum, we actually find a really unhealthy balance. And we're finding that there's not many parents who are actually finding a middle ground in that space. So that there's a bit of parent education around that as well, because if you've been super strict and you have, not allowed your child to engage in social media, there's likely to be a lot or a fair bit of social exclusion that might actually worsen over the years. Whereas if they're being exposed equally to a whole bunch of stuff that's not age appropriate and actually damaging their mental health, or really pushing comparison as a key focus in their world, it's also not setting them up for success in the future either. So it's very much a balancing act, and I don't know if we've found the balance, and I'm not sure if there's many other organisations that have found the balance and what to suggest around social media, other than helping our young people make wise decisions and informed decisions about their usage.
And it's really hard for parents, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Absolutely.
I know I lagged behind my child when he was at school, and I'm sure that's a lot of parents, they're not quite up to date with what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. That's right. And I think parents do struggle. Many parents do struggle. There is a percentage who are absolutely brilliant, switched on parents, but there are many who struggle, and I don't blame them. Because I think if sometimes myself as a millennial, if I'm having trouble keeping up, imagine how a parent might feel. Our 10th session that we spend for our Year 6 program is very practical. It's getting ready for your first day of school. So what do they need to get ready? What do they need to pack in their school bags? Have they checked they've got everything, like their uniforms, their textbooks? What can they do to stay organised and to start well? What can they do if they're feeling anxious just before, they start school? What can they do to calm themselves down? Who can they reach out to for support if they find themselves in that position? And we do just a bit of an evaluation in terms of where they're at from when they started the program to where they are now. All of that information that they've learnt along the way, how are they going to apply that as soon as they step onto the grounds of their new school? Or the same school in a different area if they're staying at the same school. We then always have a celebration at the end of that semester. We call it our epic celebration event, and it really is a celebration of their learning, a celebration of them finishing primary school. Even though most schools do have a Year 6 graduation event of some sort these days, we just think it's really nice to particularly celebrate the success of the girls and all of the learning and the process that they've been part of over the semester and over the 10 sessions. So we've often gone out and done a social event or a carnival or something like that. We've usually done a celebration where we acknowledge the growth in the girls and really encourage them on their next steps of their journey. So that's our predominant Year 6 program that we created. And then following that, I said, you know what? We're handballing our kids out into the big wide world. They've got all the skills. But what more can we do for them? I think that there's something more we can do for them. So I said, you know what? Let's make a semester 1 program for Year 7. Let's call it our Year 7 mentoring program. And, as they're experiencing all these new and exciting, places and ventures and experiences of Year 7, we're going to be there, across a couple of sessions to check in with them, to continue mentoring them, to support them, to encourage them, to chat through those difficult situations, or to chat through, the awkward situations, or to chat through the problems they might be concerned with, or any kind of concern where they're like, actually, I'd really love to run this by someone else who's not a parent, who's not a teacher, who's totally a different space, and to be able to create, a really welcoming, warm space for them to support them through that. And in that program, which, we're currently in at the moment, and we're in March at the moment, and we're in the middle of our Year 7 program. We've gone into social media in more depth. We've gone further into that space. We've talked more about friends and influences. We've talked more about what does it actually mean to live a balanced life, with so many commitments. What does a balanced life look like as a teenager, and a focus on well-being. We're also going into a space of how our physical health and our mental health is connected, and just a focus on community as well. So what it's like to have in-person real conversations, that's particularly important post-COVID. We do a lot of team building exercises and activities to help the girls get to know each other, but to also practice those social skills and practice getting to know one another, because that's also sometimes a lost skill these days, believe it or not, in this day and age. So, and then we also do a graduation at the end of Year 7, which really marks a 12-month journey for many, many of our young people. So even though they only sign up for the semester or the 6-month program, we've got these kind of next stepping stones on their journey.
So after the two programs dovetail really nicely, don't they?
They do, they do. Yeah.
You're there to hold their hand as they're practicing their new skills.
That's right, absolutely. And we're there to pick them up when things don't go their right way and they need help applying their knowledge that they've learned in the previous 6 months, and we can support them and encourage them to do that. Yeah.
And it sounds like such a fantastic program, but you don't seem to. It seems to me that you've got a lot of girls taking up the program, but not so many boys.
Yeah, it's very, very, very interesting. So we actually started a boys program. It was a couple of years on from when we started. And we called it RAP, R-A-P, Resilience and Preparation. And it just didn't have the same level of interest that we had with the girls program. So the girls program we've had strong numbers for the last couple of years. We're usually, are at capacity with the number of girls we can take on board with our team and with our building. But the boys, we just couldn't get them to commit. There was lesser interest from the boys themselves. They go, oh yeah, cool, yep, no worries, going to secondary school, yep, It's, it's just way more relaxed, whereas the girls tend to be more anxious. They've thought maybe a little different, more, they're just thinking differently about, what they're about to experience. And, I am definitely making generalizations here. So, that's not the case with every young person, but they're just some trends that we've noticed amongst the groups. I think we also felt that the parents are a little bit more nervous about the girls sometimes because there's so many wider factors for them. Whereas the boys, once again, they have that attitude of, I think, he'll be right. He'll work it out. He'll be right. Or, they're just in a different headspace, just in a different headspace to the girls. We know that girls often mature ahead of boys. And so with that, I often think that the girls are at a far more mature headspace, which has them thinking and overthinking about a lot more things that don't even occur to the boys at that age. So look, we tried running it. We took a break from it over COVID because the boys program was quite hands-on. In terms of they do activities while, talking whilst building something together or creating something or making something or, do a game. Whereas that was very hard to portray online. We did run our Year 6 girls program online. And whilst, I felt it was not as beneficial to run it online and there was so many aspects, particularly social aspects to the program that they missed out on, we were still able to run a really decent program that really did help our young people over that time. So we do have a junior leadership program. That was the third instalment that we threw in our second year of operation. I said, we've finished with the 12 months with our young people. What else can we do to encourage and continue to equip our young people over this time of their lives? And so I said, I actually think it's really important that we train and equip these teenagers to come back and share their stories to the younger girls and to the younger people who are in Year 6. And so with that became our junior leadership program. And so we've got a junior leadership program from second semester Year 7 running all the way through to Year 12 with a junior mentoring leader program as well now, as the kind of the fourth installment down the road too. And we do training sessions for each year level. We talk about what does it mean to share your stories? What are your stories and experiences that are relevant to share with our younger girls? We talk about public speaking to them. We talk about presenting. How do you run a game or an activity with a group of people? How do you write something in a professional way? We're really looking at life skills for these young people so that they can confidently get up and present, and they can confidently share and appropriately share their stories and experiences and offer helpful advice to our younger generation. And that starts when they're, only just, 12 months ahead of our Year 6s themselves. And we want to empower and encourage them to do that because we know that when our young people feel encouraged, they're more likely to step out and to take risks because they know they're supported. They know who they are. They've got a strong sense of self and their own character. And we know that, I'm a strong believer in success builds success. It's that little success or that little win that sometimes motivates you to jump on and take the next risk to build more momentum. So we really, really love and really so honoured and privileged to be in a position to mentor and influence our young people. So we've actually now gone full circle, and we've got one particular Flourish leader at the moment, almost a couple more, that started with us in Year 6 and are now fully fledged what we call mentor leaders. So they've been part of our junior leadership program. They then graduated to our junior mentor leadership program, which is we very much do one-on-one intense mentoring with them, preparing them to be a fully fledged independent leader once they're 18. And she is now one of our leaders, our mentor leaders. And so for us, that's full circle. We feel that we very much achieved some of our bigger picture goals. Yeah.
It's really fantastic.
Yeah, really cool stuff.
Obviously, the program really helps because you've got children that are starting with you in Year 6 and wanting to keep on all the way through school.
Absolutely. And We really want to encourage our young people that we're all volunteers. We are a community program. We're doing it because we feel passionate about this. And that was certainly one of my aims when I commenced it when I was at uni. And it was something I felt passionate about. It was something I felt I could make a small difference in. And I wanted to set out and model that for our young people. If there's something that you can do for the community and for the greater good that can encourage and build up other people, then go for it. Absolutely go for it. Really encourage you to do that and to step out. And I think we need to model that for our younger people too, because we all live such busy lives that I know many people, particularly working people, don't have time for volunteering and setting that example. But I actually think that it's a really important example to set for our young people, and more of us need to get out and do it. So that was also an important aspect of what we wanted to achieve too.
And I know, Emily, you can never just sit back and watch things. So I'm sure you've got plans for the future. What's coming up?
Lots of exciting things. Lots of things to still work out too, so can't say too much, but we're very much looking forward to a camp early next. It'll be probably almost in 12 months' time, so we have to plan 12 months in advance. We're planning a big program camp for all of our programs. We'll bring in guest speakers and really lots of great stuff. So we're looking forward to that in the near future. We are hoping to eventually bring back our boys program, so it hasn't returned post-COVID. But we are looking for appropriate team members who might be willing to jump in with that, particularly with experience designing curriculum and running groups. Youth groups is really what we're needing. Any kind of work with young people is helpful in that space. We're wanting to continue to design and change our junior leadership program and actually provide some pathways outside of our own organisation for these young people to volunteer their time and to be connected with, and to be able to serve in a broader sense rather than just our little internal community. So we're wanting to create some more opportunities in that space. And look, I mean, the world is our oyster. I've had lots of big dreams and ideas where we could take this and what we could do. But at the moment, we're just keeping it a community program in Bayside, because that is what I'm passionate about: local community, serving local community, and that's where we want to do. And I guess we're reaching many of our aims around here. Yeah, doing what we're doing.
It sounds like it. And just to clarify, the dates around your Flourish program for the year 6, that starts quite soon?
Yeah, so our year 6 program starts in second semester, so it's a July to end of November program, and then our year 7 program is a February until June usually program. Yep, so it's approximately a 12-month kind of cycle, but you only commit to one semester at a time, so you don't commit to both, but just to the one. And we run in Sandringham in a little old hall. It's called the Sandy Life Church Hall, and it's on the corner of Abbott Street and Essex Street, right near the shops, right near the beach. Great access to lots of facilities and things there. And we run it on a Friday evening. So it's approximately a fortnightly Friday evening across the term, and all the dates are given to you at the start of the semester. We've got that ready to go. So it's all very clear what the aims are and what the program is and what you're signing up for as well.
And do you have a wish list for your program? Something that you would help you grow it a little bit, perhaps? Maybe be able to take in a couple more students?
Yeah. We have it. Yeah, we have an enrolment goal for this coming semester. I'm trying to think what's the percentage we're already at. We've only had enrolments open for about a week, and I think we've already had, or I'm trying to think, we're almost 30%. No, probably almost 35 to 40% at capacity already. That's only after a week. So I think we'll well and truly meet our goals. We really try to encourage in our application criteria for the applications we get, young people from the local area, so that you can meet other girls from the area going to other schools, but also our young who have genuine need. It's all very well to sign your child up for a program that just sounds like it's a great time to prepare them and make sure they've got the extra confidence. But we want to make sure that those who could really, really benefit from attending the program, who may have been experiencing challenges or difficulties in their lives for whatever reason or whatever situation, that they can also gain access to the program. So, if people want to support us or, provide a scholarship for a young person, a vulnerable family or young person to attend, we're always very grateful for that. Or, even if you want to nominate a young person, a family or someone, absolutely nominate and see what we can do for that young person. Our young people are always, very much our focus, and we will do whatever it takes to enable them to access the program and to be able to support them.
Oh, Emily, thank you so much for your time. It's just a wonderful program, and I hope you go from strength to strength.
Yeah, thank you so much, and thanks for your support. And look, if anyone would love any more information about our program, you can find us online, www.flourishprogram with an am.org. You can find us there. I don't update the website all the time, all that often, because I'm a busy full-time teacher. But I do update our Facebook page. So if you look up Flourish Programs with an S, actually on the Facebook page, you'll find us there. And we put up some pictures of what's going on and what we're doing. So that's a great way to connect with us too. You'll also be able to reach us via email at info@flourishprogram.org. Also, if you've got any connections in the community to sporting clubs, to community groups, to even to schools or wellbeing coordinators, feel free to pass our information on, where we'd love to be able to support them wherever we can.
Thank you, Emily. And for people who want, I'll put the links in the show notes.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.